Prepare to experience. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is December 17th, 2020. The year is skidding into home plate, and we have a different kind of a show today. We're going to be talking about something a little more philosophical than we usually do. We're going to talk about the intersect between science and spirituality. It's going to be a fascinating discussion, I can promise you, because the guy that I've chosen to do this interview is a pure scientist, but he's also a very spiritual person. And this show was prompted because I see lots of people posting on Facebook asking for prayers for things that appear to some of us, and maybe those of you who kind of think this way have realized it, manageable through actionable steps as part of personal responsibility and taking steps on your own and maybe not praying. So we're gonna kind of explore this a little bit. Later in the show, we're going to talk about 10 over-the-counter ingredients that have been shown in research to not only extend life, but the quality of life. And we're going to give them to you so you are aware of them and ask why you're not taking them now. Before we get started with any of that, of course, we always have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. If you go to the website shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10, you can save 10% off everything they have there. And if you're a low-carb, low-sugar person, you're going to find lots of great stuff there and stuff that your children will even eat and love, even though it's good for them. Again, shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10. And now, without further delay, bring my guest on. He's my friend. He's Joel Greene. How you doing, Joel?
Hey, Carl. Good, man. Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Good to see you.
So, you're a scientist. I mean, you are very precise. You look for research to support your opinions. You're the guy who coined the term baby talk to illustrate that we oversimplify everything. Fat is bad. Carbs are good. All that sort of stuff. And but something I never realized about you early in our relationship until midway through, you're a very spiritual person as well, right?
I mean, yeah. I get literalist when it comes to words. Yeah. So, but it's an interesting path how I got there. I wasn't for most of my life. I was actually raised a Buddhist, believe it or not, and I grew up chanting. I grew up with incense and a gong and a bell and chanting and all this stuff. And,
so are you telling me I may have passed you in the airport one time? No. No, that's the Hare Krishnas.
That would have been with my cup, Al. Hang on. Hey, yeah, that would have been that. No, yeah. So I was an atheist, hardcore atheist. In fact, I was like anti whatever culture was at the time, and now oddly still find myself there. When I was 5, like, we were raised to mock, like there'd be Oral Roberts, on Sunday, on the television, and I was like a 5-year-old kid, and I'd be sitting there going, yeah, you don't know that, you're full of it, you're just trying to make money. was like a 5-year-old kid, and I was just, I was a hardcore atheist through college, and all that. So it took me a very, very, very long time to come to God, and long. It was, a lot of the objections I had were science based, like really, that's for me probably like what I couldn't get past for years. So, and ironically, it was actually the science that got me there eventually. But yeah, so it's quick background. Where I'm at.
And you go to church, right? Pretty regularly, right? That's something you enjoy doing.
Yeah. I mean, we live in I'll just say it, Carl. It's taken me so long to really understand all this stuff, like most of my life, to really get it and get it past what I thought it was, and then understand what it really is. So, and there's this idea that like going to church is this thing, and if you go to church, you must be spiritual and all that. And none of that has anything to do with anything. It really doesn't. It really it's just really about having a relationship with the Lord. That's really what it's about. And you can go to church and you can do all that kind of stuff and not actually have that.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who do. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's something I do enjoy, but church can be a social club. It could be a place where you just go socially, and then,
yes,
there's no fruit. There's no you're not actually spending time with the Lord. You're not actually doing that. You're just kind of going to church for a social club. So when people ask me, do you go to church? I just had that experience because where I live in Southern Cal, there were a lot of cultural Christians. Like Christianity took hold as a culture,
right?
And so there was a lot of that in the 80s, and so you had a lot of people that were in that culture, but they never actually spent time with the Lord. They didn't actually know Him, and they didn't really stick it. They never really made the journey the whole way, and some very prominent people too. So for me, just understanding this whole thing is something that's taken a lifetime. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. I just say that coming from having been an atheist to actually understanding this stuff and going, right. That's what that is. So, yeah.
I was raised Catholic, a Roman Catholic, Italian kid, baptized, confirmation, communion, all that sort of stuff. And I lost faith in organized religion, but not necessarily spirituality. I think they're very different, aren't they?
Well, okay. Every question you're going to ask me here is something that's taken me a lifetime to figure out. So,
that's good. So take your time to answer. Take your time.
That's kind of like a checkbox nowadays. Nowadays, spiritual but not religious. And
yeah, I know it's the new thing, right? I know it's like lattes.
I think I probably would have had that box checked for a good chunk of my life. Going I'm spiritual but I'm not religious. And then I think just kind of where life has brought me is to figure out none of those mean anything. It's actually just one thing only, and it's like, do you know the Lord? That's all. Do you spend time with Him? Do you actually know Him? It's just literally like you and I are talking. That's really what it is. It's just literally like this, and that's the real thing. It's like you and I have a relationship. We know each other. Well, it's just that same thing. And that's really what we're talking about here. Is do you actually have that? And if you do, your life's going to have fruit. And if you don't, you can say all these things and do all these things. You don't even have to, you don't have to be Christian. You can just call yourself spiritual. But what does that mean? It's just a bunch of boxes you're checking.
Well, I think some people feel like there's a higher power, and they don't want to commit to naming that higher power, or even acknowledging that it's a deity. They feel more comfortable not identifying it and making it this amorphous thing that occupies the universe and is all good and does good things. But the reality is that, as you pointed out, like in the Catholic religion, like I grew up in a neighborhood where, guys like John Gotti were people I saw walk around. And I remember that a lot of them went to church on Sunday, and a lot of them put wads of money in the basket when it went by. And a lot of them went out with their girlfriends on Friday nights and their wives on Saturday nights. And they did all these things that were the antithesis to the message of religion. But somehow they were absolved because they were good community providers, and they went to confession, which is another thing that's funny about the Catholic religion. You know, you do what you want, go in, the priest absolves you, go ahead and do it again. And so I started to lose faith in religion when I started to see these contradictions, and I started to think to myself, you know, there's nothing about God. It's all about this theatrical process that somehow makes you acceptable in the community. And I kind of lost all connection to religion entirely. And I don't know that I'm very spiritual either, because I'm somebody who believes that you have the power. This is your life. There's nothing magical about it. It's what you do, you get out of it. And you know, waiting and hoping for some sort of magical thinking to sweep into your life and fix things for you is a waste of time. And I think that's why I feel like science is so valuable, right? Because it's like math, you know, 2 + 2 keeps equaling 4 when it's good research, when it's the rigors of science. And so I've learned to trust science more so. But that doesn't mean that. So you're an example of somebody who trusts science and it coexists with your views about religion, and they don't contradict or combat each other. How do you get to that point?
Yeah, again, that's you know, I'm in a place I never thought I'd be in life. Like when I was younger, like if you'd have told me I'd be here, I'd be like, nah, you're crazy, get out of here, you know, because I thought I actually knew the science, and I'd had a lot of classes in it. You know, I went to college, and when I first went to college, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, so I was taking, you know, biology and nutrition and, you know, all these classes, and I thought I knew the science. And one of the biggest barriers I had was the science, and it wasn't until I was in my early 30s, and I literally, like, I remember that day. It's one of the most watershed days of my life. There was an MD who was breaking down a lot of what we thought of what, you know, we've been led to believe. And what I saw in a moment was, like, I wasn't actually taught real science. I was just taught kind of a narrative. And the opposite thing actually happened over time, where the science actually confirms it. Like I had a period for a number of years because I felt so deceived. I felt so completely deceived because I thought I knew the science. And then when I discovered the actual science, I was kind of angry about it. Like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been lied to. So for a number of years, I had this passion. I'd go in and I'd just, you know, I'd pick fights with people in forums, and I'd debunk stuff that they thought they knew, you know, all this stuff. I don't even do that anymore because I don't care. I don't even care anymore because the evidence is so overwhelming scientifically that actually supports God, supports the things that we think. It's so overwhelming that for me, it's not even debatable anymore. So I don't even care to. Like, there are people who devote themselves to that, and they're really good at it. You know, guys like Doug Axe and, you know, guys like that are genius PhD dudes. And, you know, they have really persuasive arguments they can put forth. For myself in life, I've gotten to a place where, particularly the more I've studied biology and the more I've looked at the inner workings of a cell, like, it actually affirms things. It's actually the opposite now. And it's so overwhelmingly, intractably compelling that the science actually affirms things for me. And so, you know, like, kind of the topic of the show, you know, you see people that, you know, it would seem like there's some simple, easy steps you can take. You know, why would you pray when you could just do the easy steps? You know, why would you do that? And there's some good answers to that. You know, one is sometimes it's just ignorance. Like, you don't know there's good, easy steps.
Right.
You just don't know that. And so, you know, the other side to that is, like, prayers do get answered. Like, I literally have seen miracles. I've had miracles happen to me, like physical miracles I've literally had through prayer happen. So that's a real thing. But the other side of that is sometimes the way God works is he works through people. So you can pray for something, and it's a person that brings you a set of steps. Like, hey, did you think of this? Why don't you just do this, this, and this? Mm-hmm. You know? So, I mean, I have a brother, you know, who has Down syndrome, and
yeah,
I just had him for 3 weeks and 24 hours a day working on him. And I am throwing all the science at him in the book, man. We are way down that road. Like, I'm I'm in this place of like both are working for me. Like God, like you got to show me a way to reverse the mitochondrial decay in his brain, because that's the issue, you know, and the integrative stress response. How can I do this? You know, you got to show me a way. And then I'll get answers. I'll like, wait, 4-phenylbutyrate. Okay, rapamycin and 4-phenylbutyrate. Let's try that. Okay, so for me, they work together.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, where does prayer fit into this? And I think you kind of eloquently set the table for it, because there's a lot of people who don't call it prayer.
Yeah.
But they'll say, you know, I need an answer. I'm going to put it out to the universe, and I'm just going to, and then, you know, they say, oh, the subconscious is working in the background, and all of a sudden something happens. It looks like this. It reminds them of that. And they go, oh my God, that's the answer. And so prayer could be thought of, because your background is also in computer programming. I mean, you spent years in that environment as well. It could also be suggesting to the brain that this is possible and show me. And we see things and we go, oh, that's it. That's the answer. I mean, isn't that the basis of Scientology? Isn't Scientology, and maybe I'm wrong about this because I don't know much about it, but Scientologists ask, like, okay, if I'm supposed to marry this woman, give me a sign. And then they're driving to work and there's a newspaper in front of them and it says, maybe it's time to get married is the headline about an article. They're like, that's it. That's the sign. I need to go ahead and marry that girl. Mm-hmm. As humans, we struggle to feel like we have control over our environment. Mm-hmm. Like the weather has always screwed us up. We would love to be able to control the weather. That's been millions of years. The weather has totally changed our plans about everything. Do you think part of the whole prayer, and I'm not saying prayer is fake, I'm saying it's real. Mm-hmm. Do you think part of the whole prayer phenomenon is you're programming your brain to expect something and you're relaxing with a feeling that you're going to get an answer, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden it comes up?
That gets into a really, really deep question. It probably too deep for this forum here, but I'll try and step on it a little bit. Okay. So, first of all, like if you think about, like, it doesn't matter what you believe. The vast majority of people who've ever lived, William James called it the more. Okay. In his book, The Variety of Religious Experience, William James wrote about the more. That it doesn't matter who you are, we all agree that this reality is the lesser of a greater. That there's a greater reality upon which this reality depends. Now, you don't have to be spiritual, religious, Christian. You don't have to believe that. You know, like quantum physics tells us that. Quantum physics tells us that, you know, it looks like space-time probably derives from some other greater reality. That's just quantum physics. Okay, so there's more, and it's just the idea that this experience of what we think of as a reality is a lesser to a greater. Okay, so most of us can kind of agree with that. Like doesn't matter what you believe. And then, you know, we just get into kind of like, you know, is it teleological in nature? You know, do you believe that God created everything, or do you believe things kind of just, you know, came by chance? So you don't have to necessarily, like, you know, go down that road too far to just kind of accept that, well, there's two possibilities of existence. You know, everything is the result of a bunch of accidents, or everything is created. There's no third possibility. It's just those two. Okay?
Yeah, random or
right.
Fatal.
Right. So we have a solution set of two. That's it. And if we're going to be scientific, a scientific approach would be, first of all, if you're going to do science, if you want to quantify the solution set, well, we have two possible solutions. So science is, okay, well, we have to equally investigate both. That'd be real science. You would never call it science.
Yeah, somebody's got to be a control, right? There's got to be something to compare it to, right?
Right. You'd never call it science to say we have a solution set of two, but we're going to exclude one because that's not scientific. Well, that's not scientific in itself. Okay. Right. So you'd have to look at both. So to get to, like, you know, basically like what we call prayer. Prayer is just really, like, first of all, it's an understanding that you are a lesser of something greater. Okay. Right. And in a practical sense, we call that humility. In a practical sense, that's just like, I'm way too stupid on my own to get most things right. Like, and I quite literally mean that. I'm just way too stupid to get most things right. So I need a lot of help. I need tons of help. And, so as a Christian, like, God is wanting to help me because he loves me. And so, like, when I'm asking for help, I'm saying, I don't really know what to do here. Can you help me? Well, then, yeah, very often the answers do come, and I do get answers. I do get direction, and it's there. It's put there for me. Now, the universalism piece, I grew up on that. I grew up on, like, hey, just put it out into the universe, and you'll get it, blah, 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 all that stuff. By the time, like, I was 20, I was so sick of that. Like, I was, oh, please, get out of here. Because that's when it started taking off in American culture. You started to hear, hey, put it out in the universe. And
yeah, right.
Gosh, come on, I grew up on this. Please, no more. But there's this idea of authority. And there's this idea of, like, where does authority come from? And what's the source of authority, okay? And if you don't have to necessarily, like, believe in God to just posit scientifically, like, well, if God exists, then authority must come from God. Okay. So there's power. There's this idea that power is available, but it's on authority. Okay. So, like, I can ask God, I can say, I need power in this one area, meaning, knowledge, for example, like my little brother, I need to understand something to help him out. And so then out of love, it's given to me. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. The other is that there's power out there, but I don't want to acknowledge any authority in getting it. I just want it. Okay, and that's where you get into, like, a lot of different ways of seeing things. And what's interesting to me about that is the question of whether or not it's on authority or not, whether or not it's like legal, whether or not it's with permission. And I believe that you can access power, but it's not on authority. And so you can do things, like you can attract things, but it's not on authority. It's not within, like, legal boundaries, so to speak. And that gets into, like, a really super deep convo. We're already way too deep here, but it's a brain teaser. It's kind of interesting.
No, it is interesting. It's very interesting. So what about if prayer works?
Yeah.
Does it only work when I pray for something that I need?
Mm-hmm.
When you have people who pray in unison, let's pray for world peace. I mean, so many people have prayed for world peace.
Right.
It never showed up. Do you think that prayer is something you can project to someone else?
One is a belief in magic. The other is something entirely different. So a belief in magic, no matter what you want to call it, is this idea that there's this, set of boxes I check, this mumbo jumbo I do, and then I get the thing I wanted. Okay.
Right.
Well, I grew up on that. I completely, like, I used to chant. We chanted to this scroll, and like you were to think of whatever it was you wanted, and and so put it this way: you have this black box. You do this thing to the black box, and then you get back what you want. Well, that's just called magic, by any other word. This is magical thinking. Okay.
Right.
But prayer, like, in the context of, and I only say this having, like, come to, like, understand it from being, like, an atheist to now, like, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is really true. It's really what it is it's not about what I want at all. It's not about what I want at all, because, first of all, most of the things I want, if I got, I'd actually run myself in a ditch if I got them, because I'm too stupid to do anything good with them. It's too flawed, too this, too that, like, and now that I'm older, I get it. Like, I really am too this, too that, too stupid, too all these things.
Right.
But prayer becomes really a thing, like Jesus said, not my will, but yours, Father. Like if you look at that moment, Jesus is saying, hey, Dad, I really don't want to go to the cross and get scourged and get my ass beat and then get strung up and get killed. I really don't want, that's not my pick, but not what I want, what you want. And that's very difficult to understand until you get, like, love, until you get an understanding of love. And then it becomes like, you literally are surrendering what you want because you love your Heavenly Father that much, and you want what He wants because He wants what's best for you. And so prayer becomes this thing of, like, it's really more about, the desires of my heart you put there, and if this is what you want from me, open the door, and if it's not, then close it. And there's a peace in that. There's a peace that transcends understanding, because I'm not hung up on stuff. Like if it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. And I've personally experienced that a lot in my life, where there's things that I wanted that I didn't get, and in hindsight, I'm like, thank God I didn't get that, because I would have wrecked things even worse.
We have a couple questions lining up, and we will get to them after the break. So
Yeah.
Robert Thompson and Faith Fitness guy, sit tight, stay through the break.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny you talk about love. I have a couple beliefs about love that have to do with relationships.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe that love rewards the person doing the loving, not feeling the loving. In other words, if I tell you, Joel, I love you, the hair on the back of your neck isn't going to stand up. But when I think about how I love you, I'm going to feel something physically. So to me, love rewards the person who is actually doing the loving. But more importantly, since you're talking about really basically relationships in this with God and you know, there are things that we do for people that we don't want to do for ourselves because we love them. So it makes sense what you're saying. If you people, you know, when the whole born again thing came out in the 70s, people started talking about, oh, well, I don't need to go to church where there's a priest. I don't need someone to be my mediator between me and my God. I can go to my God directly, which really the Catholic religion hated, because all of a sudden we didn't need priests in churches anymore, and that people were praying at home. But that's really how it started in the catacombs anyway, right? So, but it's interesting because if you reduce this relation to a relationship, there's a lot of things you do in relationships for your children, for your wife, for your husband, for your mom, for your dad, that are not your first choice to do, but you do it because you're gratified by their satisfaction because you love them. So it's an interesting a statement that you just made. It really is. I never thought of it that way. I never thought.
That's where it starts to make sense. Like when you start to have a relationship and it starts to be relational, like what I can tell you is that most of my life I've kind of been a turd, and God still loves me. Like wait a second, the Lord forgives me. I've been, you know, like, and then, but that's one thing. But then when you actually live it out in your own life, like maybe you have kids or you have other people, and you know they fall short in one way or another. And in our human self, you know, we want to ramp up and we want justice and we want, like, you know, hey, you did this, you stole this, you betrayed, you know, blah blah blah. And then you have Jesus, who is like, if you don't forgive, you're not forgiven. Forgive them as I've forgiven you. Pray for your enemies, because God causes the sun and the rain to fall on the evil and the good. And then you'll be like your Father. What credit is to you if you love only those who love you? But then when you actually have to do that in life, this whole other thing happens where it's like, holy cow, like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to love him. And I sure as heck don't want to pray for him. And I sure as heck don't want to forgive him. Right? Because I don't think you understand. They really suck. Right. Okay. And then you get these examples of like, wait a second, you were forgiven this huge debt. I'm just asking you to forgive them a little debt, and you can't do that. And then when you start living it out, it gets very real. It gets very real, because then you start to understand who he is. And then the more you understand who he is, it starts to change you, because you realize what love is, what's really going on, and you realize how short we all fall of it, you know, and it, like, you start to really get it.
I want to take a break. We have a couple questions, interesting questions that we're going to put up here in a little while and answer. And then I want to take this conversation even a little bit further. We're talking with Joel Greene. By the way, Joel has an upcoming fat loss seminar. His website is veepnutrition.com. When is it? December 26th, you said?
Yeah, it's a new course. It's immune-centric fat loss. It's coming out a day after Christmas. Perfect timing.
Yeah, everybody's going to be bloated and miserable and think, oh, I hate the way I feel. Well, just visit veepnutrition.com and sign up for Joel's course. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Are you ready to change the way you age? Of course you are. That's why you're here. Juvicell is a new first-of-its-kind dietary supplement that includes 10 key research-backed ingredients shown in studies to support lifespan. Things like resveratrol, fisetin, quercetin, pterostilbene, sulforaphane, turmeric, all in a single dose. You may have some of these ingredients already, but Juvicell is the first to combine them all into a single product to support your lifespan. It's vegan, non-GMO, and sustainable. Live better longer with Juvicell. Go to shrnetwork.biz/live better. Use code SHR and save 20% off today.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said that all disease begins in your gut. That's why it's so important to protect yourself with boosted immune system. If you drink coffee, tea, smoothies, or really any beverage in the morning, and you're looking for a tasty way to start your day and defend yourself against harmful bacteria, then I have just the thing for you to try. It's called the Ultimate Immunity Protection Stack, and it was put together by my friends over at Bioptimizers. Their immunity stack has 3 products which contain over 18 natural herbs and probiotic blends formulated to fight and eliminate bad bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and repair compromised gut lining. It also includes psychobiotics, which help increase serotonin and happy chemicals to naturally elevate your mood, performance, and cognitive function with no side effects or dependencies. It's a great addition to your morning routine, and it tastes amazing. Just stir it into any beverage, sip, and enjoy. It's the ultimate way to boost your immune system right before the holiday season. Go to shrnetwork.biz/protect and use code SHR10 and save an extra 10% off on the. You won't find this deal or stack anywhere else. For fast shipping and the best deal, go to shrnetwork.biz/protect today.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snacks Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
TaylorMade Health is focused on making sure you're able to perform and look your best. They are a leader in game-changing supplements and cosmetic products. Whether you want to increase strength, expedite recovery, facilitate soft tissue repair, or reduce deep wrinkles, TaylorMade Health has you covered. TaylorMade Health is also the home to Dr. Seed's products such as BPC, BPC Plus, and the Chill Pill. All of my listeners can now get 20% off their first order with code TRY20. That's TRY20. This code can even be used on subscription orders. Visit shrnetwork.biz/try20 today and use code TRY20 for 20% off your first. You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. Do I look brighter?
Natalie, sparkly.
Natalie just texted sparkly. Natalie just texted me and said, "Can you make your camera brighter?" Because I look like there was a TV show when I was a kid growing up on Saturday nights, and it was supposed to be in like a coffee house, you know, where the beatniks all snapped their fingers, and it was real dark, and they played new music, and that's what I looked like a second ago. I was in the dark, you know. But if I'm shocking you with my face, I'm sorry. You can blame me.
I like the new set, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. That's all Natalie, my director of communications. She's a wizard. She's made the show look so much better. So let's get a couple of these questions in first of all. Faith Fitness Guy says he learns a lot from both of us, and he has Joel's book, which they can get more information about your books. There's more than one now at veepnutrition.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He also says, what are Joel's thoughts on irreducible complexity? Isn't that just a function of our ability to comprehend?
No, it's actually an ever emerging field. So the basic idea is that here's an easy way to understand this. We use science as a way to get to the truth. That science is just a method by which we can know that we're getting to the truth. That's what science is, okay? And we use a method to do it so that we're not BSing ourselves in our brain. That's what science is. But it's not the only way that we can know truth. Douglas Axe did a really good expose on this, where he talked about intuition can take us to the truth. Here's a good example. It doesn't take, you don't need to appeal to any genius or any elite or anybody to know this is true. In all the history of the universe, no matter how many tries you gave it, an iPhone in the box with the wrapper and the serial numbers specific to that phone and the programming all ready to go would never come together by chance. Okay, never. And you know that's true. You don't need anybody to tell you that's not true. And your intuition has just done this calculation in probabilistic space, okay? And your brain has done that calculation faster than a quantum computer and tells you, no, that's not true, that can't happen. So that is irreducible complexity. Like the iPhone in the wrapper with the serial number in its current form, this is not something that can be made through chemistry and physics and time. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how many iterations past zero you go. It's not going to happen, okay? We already know that's true. We don't need to do any experiments. We all know that's true. And so what we're talking about there is a level of mechanistic and technological integration that surpasses the ability of probabilistic space to accomplish, okay? It's not something you can achieve through time and probability. Well, what's happened in the last few years, the last really kind of decade and a half, is that whole idea and understanding has accelerated exponentially. So where two really important things have happened. Number one, we're now able to put numbers to this stuff. Okay, like before it was just narrative. It was just, well, billions of years, and trillion, it was narrative. Okay, that's not science. Well, now you can put numbers to that stuff and you can model it very accurately. Okay, and what you have is that you're appealing to probabilistic space, combinatorial space. Okay, that's what you're appealing to. And so these are mathematical equations where the domain of combinatorial space is a given size. And what you can quite readily show is that the domain required by far and away exceeds by many, many orders of magnitude in the trillions and trillions and trillions of exponential numbers is just by far way too big to accomplish the thing that we're saying combinatorial space has to do. So your combinatorial space is this big, okay? And the domain required is like the size of the solar system. Okay?
Right.
That's a broad example.
Yeah.
And where this is really becoming evident is when we look at what cells really are. We begin to unpack what cells really are. And what we see within cells is that these are machines. And they're not just machines, they're computers. And they're not just computers, but they're a merger of several technologies. And a good example is DNA now. So DNA contains instructions. Okay, we all get that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
blueprint.
right?
Yeah, it's a blueprint.
Right. Well, so this is not a difficult thing to understand. Again, this is sort of using the iPhone analogy. Instructions are a product of, their instructions are a subset of thought. If you think about it, that's what instructions are.
They're a subset of what?
Thought.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Instructions
Intelligence. They're a subset of, they're derived from intelligence, right?
Right. DNA contains instructions. So what we're saying is that DNA contains thought, okay? Now, by saying that, there's a bunch of people that just got pissed off that are listening to this because they just tapped into their religious beliefs. But if we're going to be in the realm of just inductive and thinking about things and taking things to their conclusion, we have to look at like DNA and go, wait a second, these aren't just instructions, they're digitally encoded. There's a digital encoding system in here.
Yeah.
If we were going to bring computational dynamics out of cyberspace and into real space, we would have one big problem, and the problem is space itself, because these character strings get immensely long. So we can't do this in binary. We've got to do it in quaternary, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's what you find in DNA. It's in quaternary. And by putting things from binary into quaternary, number one, it saves space. You don't need to write as many instructions. The strings don't have to be as long, okay? Right. The other issue you get to, though, is you reduce errors by putting it in quaternary, okay? So
because it's not as long, so there's less possibility for errors.
Yes, yeah. So when we begin to look at DNA, and you look at DNA, you immediately run into like issues that surpass the old sort of Darwinian way of understanding it. The old Darwinian way was that, well, it appears to be designed, but it's not really. Well, when you get into DNA and start really digging into it, it's like, yeah, no, I don't think that holds up anymore. Because what we're seeing here is we're seeing digitally encoded instructions, character by character sequences. The only known cause that can produce this is the action of a mind. And we see these same types of things in two other places. We see them in language and we see them in software. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a method of the scientific method called inference to the best explanation. That's what Darwin used. He inferred
This is
In other words,
this is the best we can tell. So let's just go with that. Right.
Right. He's making an inference. Okay.
Right.
Well, so when we see digitally encoded instructions that make molecular machines, the best explanation we can infer is that the only known causative agent that makes this, that could make this, would be the action of a mind. In fact, this can't be replicated through materialism. One guy that really would be interesting, if you could ever get him on, would be James Tour, who was voted one of the top 20 scientists of the 20th century. He is, I think he's won the Nobel Prize, if I'm not mistaken, but he's a synthetic organic chemist. And so he is exactly in the realm of trying to synthesize things out of chemistry. And he's got some great talks on this kind of stuff and goes into like the impossibility of things. But the best analogy, the best way to understand it would be to say that our end game is the Tesla plant that makes the Model S. Okay. And to get to the Model S, we need these machines that make the Model S. To get to one of the machines, just one, by chance, just one.
Yeah, by chance. Yeah.
Right. That right away our minds know that combinatorial space can't solve that problem. Okay. But it isn't just that. We've got to go way beyond that problem because we don't just need one machine. We need 100 machines, and they all have to work together all at once. And then not only that, the machines themselves have to be 3D printed from a set of computer instructions that's digitally encoded. Okay. And then not only that, the plant itself needs resources that must come into the plant, and they have to come in at specific docking locations. Otherwise, things don't work.
Right.
And they have to come in at the right time in the right way. And so the whole plant has to work together all at once, or it doesn't work at all. You're not going to get the Model S if the whole plant doesn't work together. So when you begin to unpack and look at what it takes to get to a functional protein, you get problems that cannot be solved through unguided chemistry. The first problem you run into is the law of mass action. Now, if you remember back to chemistry doing molar mass equations, the law of mass action tells us the direction the equation is going to go. It's going to go in the direction of the greatest number of reactants, okay? So if we're going to say that time and chance is going to string aminos together in a sequence, a minimum of 80 characters long, an exact combination lock, okay, that's not a problem time can solve, because what you're up against is the law of mass action. As soon as you get 2 or 3 aminos together, those aminos are going to, we use the word denatured, okay? They're going to bind with things other than aminos. So time is our enemy, not our friend. But then the next problem we're up against is protein folding. So in order to get functional proteins, we have to fold them into different structures. Tertiary, we need to get like up to quaternary. We need to get these like folded proteins. And then the problem we're up against is that the instructions for the proteins require DNA, but DNA requires proteins. And so you quickly get into orders of magnitude. Then you've got to pass what's called chirality. So meaning that all the left-handed aminos have to be on one side. Right. So you got to pass the law of mass action. You got to pass chirality. So if you want to look at it from a science perspective, just to get to one machine in the Tesla plant, we've got these problems that we can't figure out how to get past. The only way to get past.
Now look at the complexity of the human body.
Yeah. And now,
I mean, like every tissue, every organ system. I mean, each of those is like 1,000, 10,000 Tesla, plants, just how do you do that? Yeah.
It's getting to this realm where the deeper you go, it doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse, meaning like you get farther and farther away. For my book, I had to study glycation, and I left it out of the book.
Because it was so complex.
It was so complex. What we know about glycation is that it's underserved. It, in one sense, runs the entire show of the body. It's a secondary messaging system where information is carried in sugars on these backbones. And it is so complex to assemble to assemble these proteins. You get into assembly chain lines, millions of units long. And the level of complexity required to do this in conjunction with all these other things that have to happen at the exact same time, just keeps expanding and making the problem more and more complex. So suffice to say that as time is going on, the better that we understand the nature of how cells work, what we're seeing is that we're looking at machinery. Really good example is ATP synthase.
Right.
If you study ATP synthase, it'll blow your mind. Okay, ATP synthase is a power generator, and it's the motor that sits in the wall of the mitochondria, and it's just like the way a Tesla works. You have a power source coming into an electric motor. Okay, ATP synthase is very similar. It's got a stator. It has a rotary engine. The rotary engine is connected to an axle. The axle spins around, and it hits essentially what amount to these motor parts that flex. It's been said you can't build an engine with 100% efficiency. It's been discovered that ATP synthase operates at 99.999% efficiency, meaning no energy is lost to heat, and it's a motor, okay? And it spins at roughly about 6,000 RPMs, and you've got trillions of these motors. In order to make this motor, you need a set of digitally encoded instructions that go into what amounts to a 3D printer, okay, inside the cell, the ribosome. Now, a funny thing happens to our minds when we advance the technology.
We want to bail. We just want give me any answer. I'm tired of thinking of it. Like I'm actually thinking about the complexity of this. And we're talking about just one little thing in the human body right now. And I'm thinking about the complexity of this, and I'm thinking, okay, like what's the simplest answer I can come up with? I'll just be satisfied with that. It's just amazing. Amazing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. It's well, we could spend hours on this. It's like I said, I used to kind of like, really like that was my thing was, opening people's eyes on this. I don't even care anymore because it's so beyond like even trying to keep up with that. There's people who do it way better than me. But here's an easy way to look at it. If we took the engine of a car and we said, hey, what are the odds this will come together by itself through time and physics? Immediately, your mind knows the answer, crunches the numbers in combinatorial space and says none whatsoever, okay? Now watch what happens. As I advance the technology, we're going to go into magical thinking, and all humans do it. Right. Humans do it, okay?
Right, because it's so large and complex that it boggles the mind, and at that boggling, you just start to you just reach for straws. Anything that's available as a possible answer, you just go for it. That's it.
Right. And we've done that with time. So we've just said time and combinatorial space is our MacGuffin, our magic box, and it can solve anything. But it can't. So if I added a layer of complexity to the technology, I said, well, we're going to 3D print the engine. Okay. Would that come together? No. I've made the problem worse. Now I'm going to advance the technology again. Let's molecularize it. Let's shrink the engine down, which we can't do yet. Okay, let's shrink it down to molecular size and 3D print the engine. Now would it come together? And now what happens is we go into magical thinking. Yeah, just give it enough time.
Right. This is fascinating. It really is. And this just shows how science and faith kind of interconnect. We have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this interview and then stick around because we are going to talk about 10 over-the-counter ingredients that you should be focusing on if you're somebody who is interested in aging better and living longer. And let's face it, you wouldn't be here watching today's show if that wasn't true. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Joel Greene. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said that all disease begins in your gut. That's why it's so important to protect yourself with boosted immune system. If you drink coffee, tea, smoothies, or really any beverage in the morning, and you're looking for a tasty way to start your day and defend yourself against harmful bacteria, then I have just the thing for you to try. It's called the Ultimate Immunity Protection Stack, and it was put together by my friends over at Bioptimizers. Their immunity stack has 3 products which contain over 18 natural herbs and probiotic blends formulated to fight and eliminate bad bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and repair compromised gut lining. It also includes psychobiotics, which help increase serotonin and happy chemicals to naturally elevate your mood, performance, and cognitive function with no side effects or dependencies. It's a great addition to your morning routine, and it tastes amazing. Just stir it into any beverage, sip, and enjoy. It's the ultimate way to boost boost your immune system right before the holiday season. Go to shrnetwork.biz/protect and use code SHR10 and save an extra 10% off on the. You won't find this deal or stack anywhere else. For fast shipping and the best deal, go to shrnetwork.biz/protect today. Getting a massage post-workout is a proven strategy to facilitate better recovery. Getting to massage therapists can be difficult and expensive, especially in these times. The solution is the Meteor, a heated massage ball from Milestorm. Reduce pain and soreness and expedite recovery with the Meteor's research-backed vibration settings and therapeutic heat. It's convenient for travel and works on any body part. Go to shrnetwork.biz/meteor and use code SHR15 for 15% off and free shipping if you buy 2 or more. Start recovering better today. By now, you're aware of the cognitive benefits of nootropics. My friends over at Pure Nootropics are giving my listeners 10 to 30% off their already great prices on over 70 high-quality nootropics. Stock up on DHM so you can feel good after your holiday celebration, or try the Superhuman Stack to boost your brain and energize your day. Go to shrnetwork.biz/pure, that's PURE, and start saving today.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said that all disease begins in your gut. That's why it's so important to protect yourself with boosted immune system. If you drink coffee, tea, smoothies, or really any beverage in the morning, and you're looking for a tasty way to start your day and defend yourself against harmful bacteria, then I have just the thing for you to try. It's called the Ultimate Immunity Protection Stack, and it was put together by my friends over at Bioptimizers. Their immunity stack has 3 products which contain over 18 natural herbs and probiotic blends formulated to fight and eliminate bad bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and repair compromised gut lining. It also includes psychobiotics, which help increase serotonin and happy chemicals to naturally elevate your mood, performance, and cognitive function with no side effects or dependencies. It's a great addition to your morning routine, and it tastes amazing. Just stir it into any beverage, sip, and enjoy. It's the ultimate way to boost your immune system right before the holiday season. Go to shrnetwork.biz/protect and use code SHR10 and save an extra 10% off on the. You won't find this deal or stack anywhere else. For fast shipping and the best deal, go to shrnetwork.biz/protect today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. We're talking with Joel Greene. More of a philosophical show than I usually do. Usually everything we talk about is science or training and everything in between. But it really, it's always amazed me. It's intrigued me, I guess I should say. The number of people who ask for prayers when there's something going on that, in my opinion, estimation, and who am I? I'm being pompous by even positioning it this way. I think, well, these are things that there are, actionable solutions to if you take personal responsibility. And I guess that's kind of like the snob in me because, like I said, I was raised Catholic and I lost all, I guess, a different type of faith, but in the institution itself. And so maybe I am where you used to be when you were young, in that I think, these people who follow religion and God, there's science. But when you talk about the complexity of DNA and how it is virtually impossible to explain it away without some form of intelligence, that it just came to be. It's really compelling. And I think that Albert Einstein had the same feelings about a lot of the theories that he came up with, theories of relativity. He said that he found God in everything he did, and that's baffling when you think about a guy who wrote prolifically about things that were reproducible and identifiable in science. You know, he was one of those guys. He's like you. I mean, he found connections there, and so it's obvious that good science, real science, and religion can coexist and not be combative. You know, I think the Catholic Church is really far behind. I think they need to catch up. I think they need to change. They need to say, man, we were really wrong about the dinosaurs. They probably did exist. You know, that's one. Where do you stand on creation versus evolution?
Well, when you get into that, the first thing to make clear is that what we're not talking about is how old the Earth is. That's the first thing you got to get into, because they're two separate things. But if you're talking about, like, you know, how did life come to be? There's two possibilities. One is it's created, or the other is that it's the result of time and chance chemistry. Those are your two options. And the course of my life has taken me to the place where I am astounded to see that we are 100% made, 100%. We're looking at things that are created, 100%. Like, it isn't even, for me anymore, it isn't even worth debating anymore, because it's so darn obvious. Like, the more I've looked at, you know, the way cells work. That being said, something that's been left out of the discussion that is worth mentioning, when people get into these debates, you have to kind of understand that it is entirely possible that you're looking at a created system that uses what we would call evolutionary algorithms, okay? Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, we do it all the time. We have created systems, computers, that employ programs that are called evolutionary algorithms. What those do is they are rule sets written to take advantage of combinatorial space to find solutions to minor problems, okay? So it is entirely possible that you're looking at a created system that uses algorithms that take advantage of combinatorial space. That is not the same thing as what's called theistic evolution. In theistic evolution, God created the universe, but then the rules create everything else, okay? That's not the same thing as that, because you cannot, it has not been demonstrated how you can go from just time and chemistry to life. That's never been demonstrated, and it's such an intractable problem now. Again, you know, I'm not the expert. Go listen to guys like James Tour, who, you know, are Nobel laureate, like genius, super genius specialists in that field, and they can talk through it way better than me. But it is entirely possible that there could be an element in the equation that uses combinatorial space, but it's created. In other words, all I'm saying is that you can have a designed element that uses combinatorial space, but it's designed. That's entirely possible, because we do it. We do it all the time. When we're building systems, we're looking at automation, we use design systems that use combinatorial space. So It's very, very possible that that's part of it. If you're going to think...
Good, I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say, you know, we could easily call it epigenetics, right? We understand epigenetics now to a great degree. We've done some fantastic shows. And epigenetics is you applying something and your genome responding to it. And we could actually say that a lot of bad things are happening today to us. Diseases are actually evolutionary selection pressures, because the people who survive those diseases will have children. And so there's this constant refinement of the species, but it's based on the exposure that we receive. You know, this idea, like, a lot of people don't realize evolution is happening right now. We are being reprogrammed right now by the things in our environment. And whether or not yesterday we did a simple show about vitamin D and the colon. It was once thought that vitamin D was not absorbed in the colon. It was not, had nothing to do with the distal intestine at all. And they found out it does. And so, you know, it's like, okay, we have people out there have IBS and colitis and all these other diseases that are not absorbing vitamin D properly, who have calcium problems in their body. Well, if that condition continues, then they will get it younger and younger. They won't have children. Those genes will be removed from the gene pool. And going forward, you'll have a population of people who aren't susceptible to that anymore. Because everything that's happening to us right now that we say is horrible and bad and diseases is just more evolutionary selection pressure through epigenetic altering. And it's changing, maybe not for the best, right? We always think, oh, evolution is only for good, not for bad. Not necessarily.
Well, what's really interesting about that discussion, to me anyway, is that what you're really looking at is a gestalt. So what you're really looking at is you have a set of programs,
right?
Okay, a set of I have a section in my book called "What Are Genes Really," and it's to help people understand what they are. What genes are is they're programs, computer programs for printing machines, for printing proteins. So you have this inventory of programs, and some of those are in the foreground, some of those are in the background, and then you have this external event happen. And what you have is the program in the background now comes to the foreground, and then this one over time just kind of drops off, okay? Well, what we're missing in the whole equation was that you had the program to begin with. Like, there's no new information. All we're doing is changing the expression of the information. So this program came to the forefront based on this stimulus. But the program existed. So we're not adding new information. What we're doing is changing the expression of programs and how they do. That's a very interesting thing to think about. It's like very interesting to think about because it's easy in our minds to conflate that with, a bunch of different ideas. But when you look at what's really going on, you had this existing computer program and it wasn't being used, and now it's being used. That's a very different way of thinking about the problem.
Yeah, no, fascinating. We've come to the end of the interview. It's been fascinating. I hope people got something out of this. I did not answer this question because it's a lightning rod. And I don't want somebody to say I ignored it. But Robert Thompson wants to know where we stand on abortion. And here's where I stand on it. I don't like it, but I'm not you. If you like it, you should do it. And it's yet another evolutionary selection pressure as far as I'm concerned. But the reality is that this is a lightning rod question that's designed to polarize people. I am not for feeding kids lots of sugar, but maybe you are. I'm not going to impose my beliefs on you. That's the wonderful thing about this world, at least right now. Let's see in the next couple of years how it changes. But I just wanted I didn't ignore your question. This is not the right place to answer it. That's all. Joe, one more time. Let's get it out there. You are having a fat loss seminar online, right? At Veep Nutrition. We're good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a digital course. It's a digital online course. Yeah.
Okay, digital course at your website, veepnutrition.com. For those of you who feel like you've done too much eating the day after Christmas, you can go to veepnutrition.com. Thank you so much for two reasons. Number one, to have the courage to come and talk about this. This is not something that people necessarily feel comfortable talking about. Joel has gotten me to look at hormetics differently now. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for being here, brother. And happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Likewise, Carl. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Talk to you soon. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about 10 interesting ingredients that you may find in a supplement or two here or there. That if you are interested in aging better, and if Healthspan is more important to you than just lifespan, you're going to want to listen. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000. Or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Getting a massage post-workout is a proven strategy to facilitate better recovery. Getting to massage therapists can be difficult and expensive, especially in these times. The solution is the Meteor, a heated massage ball from Milestorm. Reduce pain and soreness and expedite recovery with the Meteor's research-backed vibration settings and therapeutic heat. It's convenient for travel and works on any body part. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Meteor and use code SHR15 for 15% off and free shipping if you buy 2 or more. Start recovering better today. Are you ready to change the way you age? Of course you are. That's why you're here. Juvicel is a new first-of-its-kind dietary supplement that includes 10 key research-backed ingredients shown in studies to support lifespan. Things like resveratrol, fisetin, quercetin, pterostilbene, sulforaphane, turmeric, all in a single dose. You may have some of these ingredients already, but Juvicel is the first to combine them all into a single product to support your lifespan. It's vegan, non-GMO, and sustainable. Live better longer with Juvicel. Go to shrnetwork.biz/live better. Use code SHR and save 20% off today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. My guest is Erin Sharoni. How you doing, Erin?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Before we talk about these ingredients, we have to talk about you because you are amazing. You have spent every waking minute since you were 3 years old working on your resume. I mean, I'm astonished. I want to talk more about you than the supplement. So, I mean, I'm just reading this. Natalie sent this to me, so I don't look like a schmo. Erin is a multidisciplinary entrepreneur with professional experience across sectors from biotechnology and digital health to media and finance. She has an academic background in biology and the arts and is passionate about building innovative products that transform human health. Erin has a master's degree candidate in biology at Harvard University, where her thesis work was focused on epigenetics and longevity. Did you find any of that last conversation fascinating?
I did actually. I caught a bit of it. Yeah, that was really interesting. And thank you. I'm going to hire you as my personal publicist, Carl.
Well, but I'll
Before I come on a show, you could just introduce me.
So anyway, this is fascinating. So you're youthful, you're young. Why are you even interested in helping people live longer and be healthier as they live long? Because let's face it, being 90 years old and in a wheelchair in an institution isn't fun.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I care so much about human health. It's why I moved into the biotech and digital health space about 6 or 7 years ago. But even before that, as a child, I was always fascinated by the body. And my parents, I was lucky enough to grow up with parents who were very open-minded. I like to call them kind of like, I guess they were hippies, feeding me carob before there was a Whole Foods. I was never allowed to eat any junk food. And I always thought that my life sucked until I grew up and realized I was healthier than many of my peers.
Right.
So it was just something that I was very attuned to, always into science and biology. And I'm an empathic person. I care about the health of our planet and the health of all the beings on it. I think it's really important that we realize everything is interconnected. I think that was sort of a topic in your last conversation. And I think it's really important. Health is not, it shouldn't be reduced to just its mechanisms, right? I believe in taking this holistic view of things. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying, why do I care about this? Well, first of all, I care about how I age.
Right.
And, as you grow up, you see people around you becoming sick or, somehow disabled. And it's sad. And so we've developed all these technologies to extend people's lifespans. But along the way, somehow I think people forgot about Healthspan. My grandfather, may he rest in peace, developed Parkinson's when I was quite young, and I watched him for 25 years suffer a very slow decline with a disease that didn't really have many options for improving quality of life. He was a prisoner in his own body, and so while he was alive, I remember my uncle made a comment once, "Hey, if I end up like that, take me out. I don't want to be in diapers." And I think everyone would agree with that. And so I thought, well, if we've got the capacity to understand, the mechanisms behind aging, can't we mediate those things with various interventions? And what I came to understand in all of my studies and my work was that a lot of those interventions are actually really simple and inexpensive and available to us, and they don't require very much technology, if anything at all, right? And you can really mediate it with diet and lifestyle, and then support it with phytochemicals like what we're working with at Juvicell. And a whole other conversation, which I'm sure you've had with other folks on your show, would be, the state of our biosphere and soil health. And so unfortunately, the plants that we're eating today, it might not be quite as nutritious as the plants that my parents or grandparents were eating. And therefore, there is, I think, a place for appropriate supplementation. But I'm pretty hard line in the idea of like, there is no silver bullet and you can't just pop a couple pills, right, and say, well, now I'm going to live to be 100 and something. No,
and you can't keep performing the bad behavior that made you sick and take a supplement and think, oh, this is going to correct everything, because that's not the way it is. We've been doing lots of shows since 2006 about peptides, injectable peptides. And I've had a lot of people reach out about some of the peptides we talked about, and they're very disappointed. Most people want to just say, oh yeah, this is great, just use that. And I'm like, well, let's take a peptide that someone's taking for an autoimmunity. And I say, well, do you know why you have this rheumatoid arthritis? No, but I just want to take this peptide because I heard that it's good for it. And I say, well, you're going to be let down, because if you take the peptide without eliminating the insult, the thing that's causing the problem, you're going to feel hopeless. The peptide works, but you've got to identify what's causing that inflammatory response in your body. You have to eliminate it. Taking any remedy without first eliminating the insult is like deciding to paint the walls on the house while it's on fire. It's like, well, no, Absolutely. It's on fire. Just get out. Don't invest time and money painting the walls. It's burning down.
Right. And that's the difference, right, between reductionism and holism. And there's a place for both. Reductionist approach in science is extremely helpful in understanding underlying mechanisms and, developing diagnostics and treatments. But as you say, if you don't address the root cause, and sometimes, by the way, it's so simple to fix that, sometimes it's not, then what's the point? It's like driving blind. You're going to crash, take the blindfold off and you'll figure out where you're supposed to be going. So yeah, it's something I feel quite passionate about. So clearly we're in agreement on that.
Yeah, no, but you know what? More and more people, I have a lot of physicians that listen to the show. More and more physicians are starting to understand that the way they are forced to treat and practice medicine, the standards of care actually don't really care about the patient. They just care about the business, the profits, and the structure of the category. The standards of care is a horrible, horrible term, because when you immediately turn to, like, okay, Parkinson's disease. My sister died of Parkinson's disease. I say those same words. She was trapped in her body. And when I look at how they treated her, the levodopa and carbidopa sped the disease along. They raised the dose. She got worse. They raised the dose. She got worse. And it's like, wait a minute, but that's the standard of care. That's not caring. That's just treating people like trash We're just, you know what? You're going to live for another 10 years and we're going to get as much money out of you as we can. And that's it.
It's unfortunate. I think, we live in a sick care model, as my old boss used to say. It's a sick care model, not a healthcare model, unfortunately, in many ways. And that's not to indict any individual healthcare providers. All the healthcare providers I know are, wonderful people who are really passionate about helping, but they operate within a paradigm that is pretty rigid in many ways, depending especially on what your specialty is and what they can and cannot do. And there's also, of course, the fact, of which I'm sure everyone listening to your show is already pretty clued into, but physicians don't receive very much nutrition training, if at all. And I would argue that the nutrition training they are receiving is maybe questionable, because I don't think it's advisable to tell people to consume dairy every day, which is a whole other conversation.
No, I get it. You're absolutely right. I mean, my sister, when she was in the hospital, I looked at they had to put a feeding tube in her because she couldn't even swallow anymore. And I looked at the ingredients. It was soy protein, corn syrup, corn solids. It was like, I actually went out and found a farmer in Arizona, started buying raw milk. I got whey protein for her. And I said, can you put this in her bag instead? And they didn't want to do it at first. And I told the doctor, look, soy protein is undigestible. It has trypsin inhibitors in it. So she's not getting any protein. I said, corn syrup and corn solids, like that's garbage. And finally they let me do it. And she actually looked like she was getting better for a while, but that's another story. You're right. Nutrition is actually, when you look at the etiology of most diseases of modernity, I'd say roughly 70% of them can be traced back to nutrition, whether deficient or actually they are causing problems in the first place. But let's talk more about something exciting, right? Let's talk about something optimistic, because I'm an optimistic kind of guy. You have discovered 10 ingredients that are out there, but not necessarily all in one supplement, that actually complement each other. And some of them I know of for a long time that are very, very effective. There's even fantastic trials on things like quercetin and fisetin. And like, you decided, like, why aren't these all in one supplement? That was brilliant.
Thank you. Well, I don't want to take credit for discovering any of them, because I definitely did not. No. Many people did all the work before me and my business partners. But yeah, this idea was like, I have a cabinet, which I can't pick up the computer to show you, but I have a cabinet of supplements, like I'm sure many folks listening to the show have, because we're all concerned about our health, and some people want to, hack their longevity, and other people are treating an illness. And that's a whole other story about how I got into that. But needless to say, like many people, I had this cabinet full of supplements, and I was using them correctly. But when it came to longevity, I was like, what if we didn't have to have 5 different bottles? What are the most rigorously researched ingredients that, again, act as an adjunctive therapy to an already healthy lifestyle, not as a replacement, but as a support. I'm already doing all the things I believe I'm supposed to be doing, more or less. No one's perfect. And so, how can I make something that fits into my schedule, that's convenient, high quality, it doesn't, have excipients, is non-GMO, is vegan, which is important to my lifestyle. And so I was really excited when my business partners approached me and said, hey, we've been doing this research, and we'd like you to join us and start working on building out this company. And so we launched officially in the US on the 15th, so 2 days ago. I forgot what day it was today. COVID.
I know. We're just like, okay, let's end this year on the 15th. How about that one? But no,
exactly. I'm ready for 2021.
So talk about the individual ingredients for a second, because we've talked about these, like I've done lots of shows on cellular senescence with Dr. Mikhail Blagascloni, has been a regular guest on my show. And we've talked about like things like quercetin was used along with dasatinib and had amazing results. But they want to talk about the dasatinib because it's a drug that they can prescribe. But the quercetin may have actually had more benefits than the dasatinib in that study. So let's talk about the ingredients. Let's go down the list. What's the number one ingredient?
Sure. So I wouldn't necessarily give weight to any specific ingredient, but I'll tell you what all the ingredients are, which again, you'll recognize all of them. So we have quercetin, CoQ10, resveratrol, green tea extract, curcumin, glucosamine, sulforaphane, piperine, that's a black pepper extract, pterostilbene, and fisetin. So you already mentioned a couple of them, and those are the key ingredients, and that's it. And individually, those ingredients are, they're expensive. You don't know the quality of every single one. You have to try and source, different supplements from different companies. I had only a few companies that I would have trusted when I was getting them individually. And so, most of them are polyphenols, which again, you have a very educated audience, so I think I don't have to explain that. Yeah. Exactly. And it really speaks to the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet, in my opinion, whether or not you choose to mix that up. But eating lots of plants is helpful, obviously. And as you can see, all of these anti-aging ingredients, most of which act in some antioxidant capacity and mediate inflammation. And obviously, when you have inflammation in the body, you're going to incur disease. That's just what happens. And so I like to refer to the hallmarks of aging. So again, to the extent that your listeners are probably familiar with that, but things like, acceleration of, attrition of telomere length, changes in genetic expression, so changing the epigenome, deregulated nutrient sensing, general genomic instability, so DNA breakage and a lack of ability to repair those DNA breaks really well, exhausting your stem cells, cellular senescence, obviously, which is one that I'm personally very interested in. And so some of these ingredients also have, senolytic properties as well. And so we actually are conducting a preclinical study right now. A lot of supplement companies don't do that because it's expensive and, takes time, and maybe you don't like the results, but we felt it was really important because all of these ingredients individually have been really heavily researched over the last 10 years. That's why they're in the product. And so we said, okay, well, if we take these 10 ingredients, they're super high quality, and we combine them, and we know that they have some synergistic effect, what is that benefit, and how can we measure it? And so we're looking to actually measure those benefits in the blood, looking at cytokine assays, looking at cellular senescence, and seeing, does fisetin actually have senolytic properties, in vivo when it's combined with these other ingredients. So
I would imagine you're going to find out that they work better, because just like the dasatinib and quercetin study, the dasatinib worked better when quercetin was added to it. So that shows you the power of that polyphenol. And people may want to poo-poo polyphenols like, oh, well, every pharmaceutical drug is found in nature and then
that's right,
plucked out of its natural environment, isolated, synthesized, patented, and then sold to you. So, and we learn, we know that nature puts things together better than scientists do. And if quercetin works good on its own, it works even better in the things that have quercetin in them. So this, the whole polyphenol thing is very fascinating. Two things I want to talk about. First of all, I did my first show on cellular senescence at the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, with a scientist from Rutgers. And this was a very simple concept show. They proved that glucose signaling is what sped cellular senescence. Now think about that. Simple context. Blood sugar goes up real high, cells age faster. Right. So this is resveratrol's wheelhouse. Resveratrol has been shown to be more effective than metformin, milligram for milligram. You got all these people out there chugging down metformin because they've been told they're going to live longer. Well, resveratrol works better than metformin at controlling blood sugar, increasing sirtuins, which have been linked to better aging. But more importantly, unlike metformin, resveratrol doesn't interrupt mTOR's protein synthetic response. So think about this: all the benefits of metformin without the muscle blunting effects to the weight training that you're doing. Resveratrol is magic. It's magic. The other thing that I think is brilliant is glucosamine. I'm sure a lot of people went, well, I understand all these, but why glucosamine? We just talked about that study last week that shows that glucosamine has been linked to living longer. when they looked at it. It was a couple obscure studies that nobody paid attention because everybody thinks, oh, glucosamine, I don't have painful knees. I don't need that for my joints. Wait a minute. It's been linked to being able to live longer. They're not sure of the mechanism yet, but it's like undeniable. The people who took the therapeutic dose was like a small dose. It was like 800 milligrams a day or 600 milligrams a day was all you needed to see the life extending effects. Do you get people who ask, but Erin, I understand that, but why is glucosamine in there?
No one's asked that yet, actually. I had someone say, oh, I'm so glad this is in there because normally, I just have to take a separate tablet.
Right.
And that was someone who actually did have joint pain. I have a knee problem, which was a long-standing injury. So it wasn't something that was unfamiliar to me. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes the other beneficial effects of these, these compounds get overlooked because, look, studies are funded. Studies also are, they're a study is driven by a particular hypothesis. So maybe a researcher is not looking for something specific, and that happens to be something that they find as some additional outcome which warrants further study, and it may or may not get picked up by another researcher. But we all know how funding works, for better or for worse, and so to the extent that people are interested in funding additional research to understand the underlying mechanisms and how that, enhances longevity, that's great. And I think that will probably continue to happen. And that's the exciting thing with all of these ingredients is that they're being very actively researched. And there's also a lot of research on them from an efficacy and a safety profile standpoint. But of course, we wanted to do our own research too. So that's what we're doing now, and really, really excited about the results. I wouldn't put something in my body that I wasn't comfortable with. Like everyone listening to this show, we have very high standards. So I think everyone is probably familiar with each of the individual ingredients. And some of them are more popular right now than others, right? Like, resveratrol or sulforaphane or curcumin. Everybody is, dumping turmeric on their food now. And even the non-biohacker people, the average Joe.
Right.
I think you can get one of those like lattes in the regular coffee shop now.
With turmeric in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Although if they're not adding the piperine to it, it's probably not going to have very much.
And the piperine is just increasing absorption of all of the other ingredients, right?
Specifically, turmeric requires piperine to become more bioavailable. So that's why that's there. On its own, it's obviously not an anti-aging ingredient. But yeah, I'm really excited about the product and the potential that it has, and making it easier for people to support their already healthy habits. Sorry, just got a pop up. Even when you hit do not disturb, you get pop-ups on your computer.
I want to put something up for my audience here. So you can save 20% off this amazing product, and if you go to shrnetwork.biz/livebetter and use the code SHR. Juvicel is brand new in the United States. You can be one of the first people to know about it. Tell your friends. You'll be more popular once you start taking it. Tell your friends about it. But really, and all kidding aside, this is a very intelligent product because they've taken lots of different ingredients that have been shown in rigorous science to extend life and extend health, reduce the signs of aging. So even if you are doing things that aren't the greatest for you, this could be a prophylaxis for you. Maybe it's not going to reverse aging completely, but it's going to stop you from aging horribly from this point forward. I always talk about removing the insults first, and you will get better results if you can identify the things that you're consuming that aren't really good for you. But in the meantime, this product can at least keep you in where you are now and keep you from getting worse. shrnetwork.biz/livebetter. Use the code SHR, save 20% off. This is a must-have. I have a prescription for rapamycin. I take 6 milligrams of rapamycin once a week.
Okay.
This product is a great product for me to stack with it. I already know it because this product is doing a lot of things that rapamycin isn't doing. And especially from the standpoint of blood sugar management, reducing inflammation, I think it's a brilliant product. When I saw this product, I've been doing this podcast for 15 years, and it's very hard to find sponsors that you don't feel like a shill telling people to spend their money on. No, really. And I have great appreciation for companies like yours who work hard to make a great product that allows me to say wholeheartedly, you're not wasting your money. This is something you need to pay attention to. And I applaud you. I thank you for that.
Thank you. We really appreciate your support because we know that your listeners take your words seriously, and I think that's really important that you believe in whatever it is that you're telling people to go out and buy. Anyone listening, when you do try our product, please reach out to us and let us know how you like it or even don't like it. We want the feedback, how you think we could improve it, or what excites you about it. If you have any questions, we're always available, and we like to learn and iterate. And that's the whole plan for this product, is to keep testing, keep reviewing the science rigorously. We've assembled a great scientific advisory board, and we'll start working with them as well on ensuring that, as new studies come out, we, refine the product accordingly, whether that means adjusting concentration of certain ingredients, whether that means it comes from the outcome of our own study. So we really believe that that's important. It's not just, it's not about sick care. It's not about saying what is the maximum profit we can make for the least amount of expense. It's about saying how can we actually help support human health span and lifespan. And I believe that really is sort of this holistic theory, right? It's like, if everybody is healthier and happier, then you also will be healthier and happier. That might sound a little hokey, but I do believe it,
Well, from a healthcare cost perspective, that's absolutely true. I did a show probably 10 years ago where we analyzed that if just a small percentage of the population got healthy, the impact on healthcare. And that impact on healthcare, in fact, I did it with one of the founders of Life Extension, A4M. I can't think of the doctor's name now, but he came on the show because there was a new president taking office at the time. And we did this whole show saying, look, here's how to fix healthcare. Mm-hmm. You don't keep throwing more money at it. You start giving people tools to get healthier. So the burden, the cost burden is reduced, and we're not spending money on this stuff. And I forget, it was ridiculous billions of dollars that we could save in healthcare if some small percent of the population took responsibility for their own health and actually did things that over the course of a couple of years made them healthier. So,
for sure. There's a Yale study that just came out. I just actually saw it on LinkedIn this morning. I think someone posted it. Basically, and they crunched the numbers and they said, if even some percentage of, I don't know if it was this country's population or the global population, shifted to a whole food plant-based diet, or at least a largely whole food plant-based diet. And essentially that means unprocessed, right? Even if you are consuming some fish or meat, like you just need unprocessed food. So essentially getting everyone on a healthy diet would like allow Medicare for all to be completely affordable. It would save trillions of dollars. Right. And so, someone had said, well, so wait a second, it's about profit. It's not actually about making Americans healthy, right? Because then that's not profitable, which is silly because I don't think that it's a zero-sum game. I think, people can be healthy and you can still, have for-profit companies. That there is always going to be illness and people are always going to need guidance. But, to live in a system where you're always fixing the broken part instead of trying to prevent that part from breaking, to me, is intellectually dishonest. And ultimately, it's a false economy. It costs more money. People are unwell. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, the way we're doing it now, the insurance companies and the healthcare companies are all making more money. So if we fix the population, they're making less money. I don't understand why that's a horrible thing. Once again, shrnetwork.biz/live better. Get yourself some Juvicel. Use the code SHR. Save 20% off. Email me at onair@superhumanradio.net. Give me your feedback. I want to hear from you. And Erin, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And we appreciate your support.
And we'll see you again, I'm sure. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
All right, so that's it for today. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is the 15th anniversary show. I hope you can make it live. We have a couple special guests coming on. We have so many wonderful videos from listeners, from past guests, and we're going to walk down memory lane, how this show started 15 years ago, what directions it took and changed, and why those directions changed, and what we hope for the upcoming years. So that's tomorrow. Hope you can show up. If not, there's always the podcast and YouTube and Facebook videos that you can catch on rerun. Okay, that's it for today. See you tomorrow.